Ric Flair let Terry Funk beat his own son David's ass. And Funk was on the mic, "Please, Rick, come out and save your son." Rick left in a limo. He's like, "I'll be all right."
Yeah, and I think I picked up, it was an I Quit match, and Terry Funk ended up quitting because Rick wasn't going to come save
Knobbs
him.
has been feuding with Bam Bam Bigelow. He got Pillmanized by Luger. Knobbs is optimistic because his mentor, Fit Finlay, trained him to never give up or something.
Fit Finlay, who also had a broken arm.
He had a broken arm as well. It was a leather jacket on a pole match, and they called it skin. That's good. I have a couple of white guys fight over their skins. Do you remember when Sheamus and Montez Ford came back after a long absence and they were fattest, but then we saw them like a week after that and they were fit?
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't Ahmed. If anything, he looked bigger.
It wouldn't be so bad if his shirt wasn't like painted on. That's the tightest shirt he could possibly be wearing.
Well, and there's one point in the match where he did something to Booker and then he just put his hands on his hips. Like, really, dude? And then the real James Brown comes out and Maestro faints. And I'll be goddamn, they got James Brown. At the time of the sinking ship, they have fucking James Brown.
I was wondering how much they had to pay him to.
At this point, they have not confirmed the door. We're supposed to speculate that I guess it was Roddy Piper. Which, if it was Roddy Piper, why would he lock himself in there all night?
They did say on commentary, though, we have to believe that Piper was the one in the room. Do we have to believe that?
Well, moving on, we have our Wrestling Rewind. And this week is WCW SuperBrawl 2000. I have no idea where we are. I'm going to write that down. But we did have an opening hype video. Ric Flair and Terry Funk are feuding. They had joined forces against ass kicker Marcus Buff Bagwell last time we saw him. But they're having a death match tonight. I also think now I know, Ric Flair let Terry Funk beat his own son David's ass rather than face him. And Funk was on the mic, "Please, Rick, come out and save your son." Rick left in a limo. He's like, "I'll be all right."
Yeah, and I think I picked up, it was an I Quit match, and Terry Funk ended up quitting because Rick wasn't going to come save him. It's his son.
So David Flair has a win over Terry Funk?
I think that's what I picked up. May not have been that way, but I think that's what I picked up.
Lex Luger is facing Hulk Hogan. Luger is breaking everybody's arm by Pillmanizing people's arms with chairs like he did with Sting. And it's interesting because everybody in this fucking pay-per-view has a broken arm. It's just like Luger's a menace.
Yeah. I was like, golly, he's broken like the whole rosters. Like everybody had a cast on.
Yep. Psycho Sid beat Kevin Nash to finally become the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. I guess he outsmarted the NWO. So the NWO split up again or something, which sets up Psycho Sid versus Scott Hall versus Jeff Jarrett. This is a three-way dance for the World Heavyweight Championship. Jarrett also took out Commissioner Kevin Nash with a guitar. Then we cut to Mean Gene Okerlund. He's standing outside of Commissioner Kevin Nash's office. You know it's his office because there's a little Post-it taped to it. I think it's a commissioner or some shit. Okerlund wants to know how Nash is doing after being attacked by Jeff Jarrett. Then a bunch of hoes come out of the office, followed by Jeff Jarrett, and then Creative Control. I guess they're back together again. What's more is I guess we're supposed to think that Jarrett fucked all of the hoes at once.
Because he's the man.
Jarrett then says he just rang Kevin Nash's bell and he's not going to be here tonight. Even though Jarrett just fucking said Nash is in fact here tonight. Somehow Jarrett is now the acting commissioner and he reinstates Creative Control, then says they'll be out there with him during the three-way dance tonight, which is also no DQ. Mean Gene then gets very, very distracted by the hose.
Good for him.
And then we cut to commentary. Mark fucking Madden is with Tony Schiavone and Mike Tenay. Mark Madden might be the worst commentator ever.
He's definitely the thirstiest with what he was saying with every woman. At one point, he was talking about Daphne screaming. It's like, that means she likes it. So, yeah.
I couldn't stand him.
I was uncomfortable listening to it.
Shivani talks up Nash not being at the pay-per-view, leaving the door open for Jarrett to do whatever he wants. Madden doesn't say anything relevant throughout the whole pay-per-view. Shivani then talks up Lex Luger versus Hulk Hogan with Mike Tenay. Tenay wants to know if we'll see Hulk Hogan or Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And they all talk about Flair versus Funk. I guess the rivalry started in 1989. It is now 2000. Like, they were fucking like old in 2000.
Yeah. There was even talks about them being at the end of their careers during the match. It's like, no, unfortunately, they're not.
Then they go over the other matches, and then they also say James Brown is going to appear, but Mike Tenay does not buy that for 1 second. And then the first match of the evening is Lash LaRue versus the Artist, formerly known as Prince Iakea. This is for the Cruiserweight title. This is the finals of an 8-man tournament. You see, Oklahoma beat Medusa, then relinquished the title, which led to the tournament. Prince Iakea actually thinks he's Prince. That's what I got out of that. There's lots of purple in his entrance. He's with Paisley, which is Charmel. And speaking of which, the match started with LaRue smacking Paisley's ass. Then the ref allowed Paisley to kick LaRue while Prince held him. And then Paisley also was allowed to stand on the apron for like the majority of the match. She was standing there so long, even Shivani said something. And then Prince won after a diving tornado DDT. And then did some gay shit with LaRue's belly button.
Yeah, he licked his finger and then ran it up his body.
Oh, God.
Because he's Prince now. Guess it gives him some character. I don't know.
I guess.
But he's your new Cruiserweight champion now. That's the takeaway there.
I don't like that LaRue's trying to be a low-rent Chris Jericho.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, he had the sparkly shirt. It was like he's called the Ayatollah Shrimp Creola. Call him Lash 2000.
Okay.
Well, then they cut to the back in the medical area. Norman Smiley is getting taped up. Apparently, he got his ass beat by the wall. Later, they show him getting choke slammed through a table. So, yeah, he did, in fact, get his ass beat. Then Mean Gene Okerlund interviewed Brian Knobbs. Knobbs has been feuding with Bam Bam Bigelow. And, oh, fuck. I totally forgot he was in the pay-per-view. He got Pillmanized by Luger. But Knobbs is optimistic because his mentor, Fit Finlay, trained him to never give up or something.
Fit Finlay, who also had a broken arm.
He had a broken arm as well. Then they cut to a door that says keep out. No one knows what its purpose is. Oh boy.
And there's our hook for the pay-per-view. Who's behind that door?
Yes. Well, there we have Bam Bam Bigelow versus Brian Knobbs for the hardcore title. Knobbs used Finlay to distract Bigelow at the start of the match. Bigelow, Knobbs, and Finlay fight to the back. Knobbs then tells Finlay he has to do it himself now all of a sudden. Then Knobbs and who's he fighting? Bigelow head to the ring. Bigelow throws Knobbs through a table and then hits greetings from Ashbury Park. Knobbs immediately recovers like it was nothing. And then Finlay comes out again, distracts Bigelow. Knobbs is able to win after hitting Bigelow with a trash can while he was laying on the ground defenseless.
New hardcore champion.
Just your typical Looney Tune weapons match.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm liking this Knobbs guy. What happened to Sags?
I don't know.
We go to the back again. Ric Flair is talking to Lex Luger and Miss Elizabeth. Flair says Luger and Miss Elizabeth look good and team package rocks. All right. We then learn that security is guarding Scott Hall's dressing room and doing the same with Psycho Sid's. And then we get 3 Count versus Norman Smiley. 3 Count is a wrestling boy band consisting of the Hurricane, Evan Courageous, the guy that Medusa let fuck her, and Shannon Moore. So naturally, Norman Smiley lost because it was 3-on-1 and his ribs were broken.
Yeah, say what you want about them, though. My takeaway was the crowd definitely didn't like them. They were getting heavily booed and also heavily cheered when they were like, "We're not going to sing a song tonight."
Well, they show us the keep out door again. Then it cuts to Jeff Jarrett, who sends creative control to see what's behind the door. But first, we have the Demon versus the Wall. They said this was a fucking main event brought to us by Snickers.
Yes, they did.
The Wall won after choke slamming the Demon off the top rope. That's all I can say about that.
Well, I can add that the Demon was a carbon copy of Gene Simmons. I think that's worth noting.
Except with
They
muscle.
they even said like something about him being a tribute to Gene Simmons or something. So he had like the Gene Simmons esque face paint.
And he did the blood shit. And then Shivani geeked out.
Yeah, even talked about what kind of blood it was or what it was. It's like food
Yeah.
coloring and some other stuff.
And Tanay started rubbing his nipples at how well researched Shivani was.
Yeah, the one little funny line from Mark Madden was he asked who was a better band, Kiss or Three Count.
Mean Gene Okerlund interviews Ernest the Cat Miller. Okerlund doesn't believe that James Brown is in the building. The cat says Okerlund's breath smells like old neck bones and assures us that James Brown is here. Then Creative Control try to enter the keep out door, but it was locked. So they go look for a key, which you would think they would maybe do that beforehand, but whatever.
I thought those strapping lads can just kick the door in, but
You would think, yeah.
never did they really try that.
Then we see Tank Abbott pacing, and then so is some other guy. And that leads us to Tank Abbott versus other guy. And it's a leather.
It was the damnedest match of the night.
It was a leather jacket on a pole match. And they called it skin. That's good. Have a couple of white guys fight over their skins.
Yeah.
They start the match and trade left hooks. Other guy knocks down Abbott, then stands on his face. Tank Abbott won after beating the shit out of other guy, then got his jacket. I felt like he got his jacket, like he climbed the pole after he won the match. So like that didn't even enter the equation.
Well, there's a little bit of a botch here, which I don't know what the hell they were even trying. So this whole match was just like a fight. There was no like technical wrestling moves. It was just started the match by strapping their wrists together and just trading punches.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty much the whole match was them just throwing haymakers at each other. And finally, yeah, Tank Abbott hit him with one of his punches to knock him out. And then he puts him on his shoulders and starts climbing the turnbuckle to retrieve his jacket on the pole. And as you would imagine, this didn't work out. So they literally fall off of the top out to the outside. And then Abbott goes back in and climbs the pole. And then for some reason after the match, he has like a shiv and he's holding it to the guy's neck. He's like, I should kill you. And they would go on for the rest of the night to try to figure out what he was holding to his neck. It's like, was those scissors or like, I don't know, was it a fork? Like they just kept asking throughout the night, like what he was holding to his neck.
I guess I missed that was a botch. It looked like Tank Abbott just threw him out.
No, they fell.
Okay.
He was trying to climb the turnbuckle with him on his back for whatever reason. But yeah, they just spilt out to the outside.
Well, after that, Mean Gene Okerlund interviews Harlem Heat, the new Harlem Heat. Ahmed Johnson is facing Booker for the rights to Harlem Heat, the Harlem Heat franchise, and the use of the letter T.
Yeah, Booker T is now just named Booker because
Yes.
you can't use T because it's Harlem Heat's property.
Because Stevie Ray, big hood guy, lawyered up.
Yeah.
So
He also
Stevie Ray,
can't use music, it should be noted, because that's Harlem Heat's music.
he can't wear the flames.
And no flames either, yeah.
So Stevie Ray says Booker don't know nothing about watching other people's backs. That's why he's teaming up with Ahmed Johnson now. And the person that used to watch Booker's back might be watching him from across the ring tonight. because they want to be on the winning team. And then we get a hype video. We learn that Stevie Ray is actually suing Booker for the Harlem Heat rights and his name. And yeah, even the Flames. Mean Gene Okerlund then interviews Booker. Booker just says he's never fucked anyone over that didn't have it coming to him. And tonight is for all the marbles. So you have Ahmed Johnson versus Booker. Do you remember when Sheamus and Montez Ford came back after a long absence and they were fat as fuck? But then we saw them like a week after that and they were fit.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't Ahmed. In fact, if anything, he looked bigger. Way his ass just waddled to the ring.
It wouldn't be so bad if his shirt wasn't like painted on.
No shit.
Like that's the tightest shirt he could possibly be wearing.
Well, and there's one point in the match where he did something to Booker and then he just put his hands on his hips. Like, really, dude? Booker came out to white music. And then they had a quick match. Stevie Ray and the lawyer interfered a lot. Booker actually made quick work of Ahmed. He hit the Harlem sidekick, a rock bottom, which Ahmed barely left his feet for. And then Booker hit a massive missile drop kick. And then Booker goes for the win, but the lights go out. And when they return, another fat black guy is just standing on the apron. This distracts Booker, so Ahmed hits the Pearl River plunge, and he gets the win. I think this was one of the guys from Master P's entourage.
I think so. But he was a big dude.
I wonder whatever happened to Midnight.
I don't know. They kept mentioning her during the match, so I don't know.
What'd you think of Ahmed?
It's sad. Maybe he'll get back into it, what he was once.
I wouldn't hold your breath. Mean Gene Okerlund interviews the Maestro. Oh, God. Apparently, there's this guy named the Maestro. He looks like a fruitcake. He's with some chick. I guess he likes classical music or some shit. And apparently he's been feuding with Ernest the Cat Miller. They've been talking shit back and forth. Miller likes James Brown. Maestro likes classical music. So my question is, does Miller just listen to James Brown, or is that just the category he calls it?
I would think it's the genre, but yeah, he just called it James Brown.
Maestro says if Miller can produce James Brown, then he'll listen to whatever garbage music he wants. But if Miller can't produce James Brown, he has to become Maestro's slave. Which I'd say that's a fair bet.
Yeah.
And then we see that creative control are still being thwarted by the Keep Out door. They found a guy with keys, but turns out the locks have been changed. So creative control just beat the shit out of the poor guy for having the audacity to help them. They beat him up for no reason.
Well, he was not used to them at that point.
Yeah, but they're so much bigger than he was.
And God forbid he couldn't go find a new set of keys.
Right.
Like that was their hope, and then they took it out.
So then we have Billy Kidman versus Vampiro. So apparently this was a rubber match. Vampiro won the first one, I think. And then Kidman won the second one. Well, I guess they have like a love-hate relationship where they respect each other, but they don't trust each other or some shit. I don't know. But thankfully, the match was short, sweet, and uneventful. Kidman ended up winning after a reverse DDT from the top rope.
In one of the Mark Madden creepo lines of the night, Tori Wilson was up on the apron before the match, and he complimented the cameraman because he was shooting her from her ass. And then he said, "Perfect, now get down on one knee," talking about the cameraman. I guess he was trying to be Jerry the King Lawler.
I felt like he was trying to be Bobby Heenan. Just edgier.
Maybe.
Mean Gene Okerlund interviewed Terry Funk. For some reason, Goldust was there too. And then Funk promised to kick Flair's ass, and then Goldust will be right there with him. Then Psycho Sid barges out of his dressing room. He wants the guards to bring him Mean Gene Okerlund right now. He's got something important to say. Oh, shit. Then we have David Flair and Crowbar versus the Mamalukes. This is a Sicilian stretcher match, and it's no countouts or pinfalls. The members of both teams must be taken out of the arena, not ringside, not to the backstage. They got to be out of the arena.
Yeah.
Both of them. these motherfuckers going all over the place. But this was just another Looney Tune weapons match. Flair got taped to a stretcher, and for some reason, a couple referees come out and took him away. So David Flair was eliminated, but we don't see like him go out of the arena. So I don't know why you would have that stipulation if you're not gonna like follow through with it.
Well, I guess the refs took him out. That was the end of it.
Well, then Crowbar gets put through 2 tables, but still needs to be tied to the stretcher as well. And then he gets taken away. Then David's bitch, Daphne, who's been screaming, she's been playing the part of woman. She gets taped to a wheelchair and taken away as well. And the crowd was very happy that she was taken away.
Yeah.
That might have been like the only pop for the match.
Well, I mean, it was a David Flair match. We're going to get too much out of it.
He sucks.
His little psycho gimmick is just not it.
We have Creative Control and Jeff Jarrett backstage. They couldn't get past the vaunted door, but they sure were happy about beating up that guy that was significantly smaller than they were. And Jarrett says, "Don't worry about that. I have a plan." So why'd you send him in the first place, Jeff?
He needed time to think of the plan. That's why.
Okay. The Mean Gene rushes to Psycho Sid's dressing room, all out of breath, sweating. And Sid just wanted to tell Mean Gene that he's winning his match tonight.
Pretty much, yeah. He just cut his little promo that he was going to cut.
He barged out of his dressing room. Go get him right now. It's important.
Yeah.
Made the security guy run. So unnecessary. Well, then we have Ernest the Cat Miller coming out to the ring. And he promises James Brown is showing up. And then some guy comes out and it is absolutely not James Brown. The Maestro comes out wearing a cape, all pissed off. He wants the cat to be a slave right then and there. And then the real James Brown comes out and Maestro faints. And I'll be goddamn, they got James Brown.
They did.
At the time of the sinking ship, they have fucking James Brown.
I was wondering how much they had to pay him to figure that out.
Probably gazillions. I wonder what he was thinking. Besides the ka-ching.
Well, at some point in his little dance off with Cat, he mentioned that his new album was dropping soon. So that's what he was doing. Because, wrestling fans and James Brown fan, big crossover there.
It's like peas and carrots.
Yeah.
Mean Gene Okerlund interviews Scott Hall. Hall says he's winning the belt tonight. And he didn't have to barge out of his dressing room and make some poor security guy run. Okerlund found him.
Yeah.
We get a Ric Flair Terry Funk hype video. And sure enough, David Flair and Funk had the I Quit match. Funk is on the mic telling Flair to come out and stop David from getting his ass kicked. And Flair leaves in a limo. Also, Arn Anderson washed his hands of Flair. Like, I'm out.
Despite Son Flair hitting him with a crowbar multiple times in the back, he seems to still be not turning his back on him.
Yeah, the Mean Gene interviews Flair. And he says he's the greatest. And he's going to beat Funk. And that leads us to Terry Funk versus Ric Flair. Texas Death Match. So pinfalls and submissions count, but you have to answer a 10 count after that. So Flair gets pinned on the outside after a suplex, which I loved. And then Funk got submitted after a figure 4. Funk gets another pin after a pile driver on exposed concrete. And then Funk just decides to get on the mic in the middle of the match. Says he set up a table so he can break Ric Flair's neck again. And sure enough, he pile drives Flair through the table. And he goes for the pin, but pulls Flair's arm up, stopping the count. And then Funk sets up another table, puts Flair on it, and climbs the top ropes. Flair recovers, ends up sending Funk through the table. And then Flair gets the pin, and Funk then can't answer the 10 count. Night and day from what we've been seeing so far.
Yeah. I just thought it was a pretty good match, too.
Oh, of course. It was a great match.
Yeah, and they didn't have to do anything too crazy. I guess the craziest thing was the pile driver through the table.
Yeah, the pile drivers. Which that kind of bugged me because it's such a protected move.
Well, So he did the pile driver through the table, and then he pinned Flair, but then he raised his arm up, like he made Flair kick out.
Yeah, but there's earlier where he did a pile driver on the floor. He pinned Flair. Flair kicked out. So then he had to expose the concrete. It just bugged me, all those pile drivers. And he still didn't win. But we see the keep out door again. At this point, this better be fucking good, right? And then Mean Gene interviews Hulk Hogan. Hogan says Luger's been running amok. Snap, crackle, pop in everybody's arm. Jimmy Hart's there to see Hogan get his revenge on Luger. If Miss Elizabeth interferes, Hogan's going to snap, crackle, pop her and then shove her down Luger's throat. And we're going to see him go from Hulk to Hollywood all in one night. I miss him.
Yeah, it is a little eerie.
And that gives us Lex Luger versus Hulk Hogan. Luger still has the epic entrance. Hogan is back with the yellow trunks instead of the pants. And we start off with Hogan sliding into the ring. Luger jumps him. Hogan recovers. They fight to the floor. And then Hogan chokes Luger with his shirt and blatantly uses a chair while the referee just stands with his mouth open and watches. Hogan's about to finish Luger, but Miss Elizabeth hits him with a bat. Not as hard as Sting. And then Jimmy Hart snatches the bat from her and doesn't pimp slap her. They just go back to watching the match, respectively. Luger gets the drop on Hogan when he's dealing with Elizabeth, and he signals for a torture rack. Hogan then hulks up, hits Luger with a big boot, signals for Hart to throw him his weightlifting belt, but Luger comes in with a low blow while he was talking to Hart. So Luger tries to use the weightlifting belt on Hogan. Hogan ducks it, hits a clothesline, hits the leg drop, gets the win. And then he starts to whip Luger with his belt after the match. Ric Flair came out and he attacked Hogan. And then Luger and Flair start beating the shit out of Hogan until Sting returned. And he kicks their asses with a baseball bat.
Yep, Shirley probably setting up a tag team match for the next pay-per-view, I'm guessing.
If anything, it's going to be Luger and Sting eventually.
Oh yeah, they're going to have to get that payoff.
Especially with everybody walking around with broken arms. So we go back to the keep out door, and it is open now. But it was definitely not Sting because he came from another part of the arena. Oh shit, it's going to be good, right? And that leads us to our main event, Jeff Jarrett versus Scott Hall versus Psycho Sid. A three-way dance for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And I appreciate that Scott Hall is still using the Wolfpack music and still representing them, according to Michael Buffer.
Yeah.
This match was kind of a clusterfuck, if I'm being honest. Sid was awesome, kicked everybody's ass, but then there was 100 ref bumps because Jarrett kept taking him out until he got a ref out there he liked. And then Hall hit Jarrett with a razor's edge, which should have won the match if not for Jarrett's crooked referee. Jarrett also immediately got up after taking Hall's finish, making it look worthless. And Jarrett hits Hall with a guitar. Looks like he's going to get the win. But then Roddy Piper comes out in a ref shirt to stop the count. His arm's also broken as well. Luger got to Roddy. Jarrett gets hit with a choke slam from Sid. Then Sid hits Hall with a power bomb, and he wins the match. And it goes out. So at this point, they have not confirmed the door. We're supposed to speculate that I guess it was Roddy Piper. Which if it was Roddy Piper, why would he lock himself in there all night?
I don't know. They did say on commentary, though, we have to believe that Piper was the one in the room.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to believe that?
Well, it's worth noting that this was Scott Hall's last match with WCW.
Didn't even win.
Sure didn't.
Overall, though, I did think it was a pretty good pay-per-view. And by good, I mean, like, it didn't feel, like, rushed. There wasn't as many, like, fuck finishes as they usually are. So...
No, there actually was. I mean, there's stupid finishes, but no, there wasn't fuck finishes.
Yeah, like, remember when Vince Russo first took over, someone who we would have to have been watching the weekly television to understand why that person was involving themselves in the match. But like, yeah, every match had some kind of finish to it that was like, okay. But tonight, There were clean finishes, so somewhat of a normal pay-per-view.
I think the longest match was 15 minutes.
Was it the Texas Death?
Yeah. The Sicilian stretcher match was the second longest. But yeah, it was usually like 4 to 7 minute matches.
Okay.
It was enough to do something, but not long enough to overstay their welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was WCW Super Brawl 2000. Our next WCW pay-per-view is Uncensored, which is in Miami, Florida. And our main event is Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair and a Yapapai Indian strap match.
All right.
But before that, we have ECW's Hardcore Heaven 1999. We're in Poughkeepsie, New York. This was the second Hardcore Heaven to be broadcast on pay-per-view. We had 8 professional wrestling matches taking place. Originally, the main event was supposed to be a singles match with Taz and Chris Candido, but I don't know what happened because it's not telling me. So the main event is Taz versus Bubba Ray Dudley, Falls Count Anywhere match for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. We have Psycho Sid versus Just Incredible. Rob Van Dam is getting a rematch with Jerry Lynn. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is for the World Television Championship. Lance Storm is facing Tommy Dreamer.
Sounds like it's going to be a pretty good card there.
Well, that was our Wrestling Rewind.
Good stuff. Good stuff.